Toastmasters International Recording Statement. Because this virtual Toastmasters meeting is being recorded, Toastmasters International requires we read this statement. By attending this virtual meeting, you agree to the privacy policy of Toastmasters International as well as the unassociated remote remote hosting service. Some of your personal information, such as name, image, and any shared messages, may be shared with other meeting participants and will be recorded by Toastmasters International, who may use the recording in the future as it sees fit. Your remote attendance hereby discharges Toastmasters International from all claims, demands, rights, promises, damages, and liabilities arising out of or in connection with the use or distribution of said video recordings, including but not limited to any claims for invasion of privacy, appropriation of likeness, or defamation. If you don't want your likeness to be shown, please turn off your camera. Thank you everyone participating. This is our last learning lab in the month of May. We do have two speakers. Both are here today. First speaker is Viki Kinsman. It is my honor to introduce Viki. Viki has been a Toastmaster since 1996 when her husband, John Kinsman, signed her up, much to her surprise. She was attracted to the leadership track and discovered she liked to develop and present training. To that end, Viki has served in every role at the club and district level, including TLI Dean and Conference Chair. She was volunteered to be district treasurer in her second year. Beyond the district, she was international director for the 2021 20 sorry 2011 to 2013 term and has worked on several regional conferences, international conventions, ILC and RASC. Outside of Toastmasters, she works for the Women's Center in Vienna, Virginia, as the volunteer workshops financial advising coordinator. Viki retired in 2021 as deputy registrar for Fairfax County Office of Elections. Currently, she is in 4 clubs in 4 districts, continuously learning more about leadership and communication. Join Wiki. Wiki also joined at Jedi Masters in District 100, the club based in the multiverse of imagination. It is my honor to introduce Vicky, and she is going to talk about today team building. Floor is yours, Vicky.
Thank you, Umanga. And hello, everyone. I realize that you might not want to put your camera on, but I can tell you as a speaker, it's always nice when you do. Also, I will take it that I can call upon you. My style of teaching is very much inclusive and participatory because we learn from each other. I have learned so much from listening to others of how they do different procedures, including team building. On team building, how many of you are currently on a team now? You can raise your hand. Yep. So some people did not, but you might be on a team anyway without knowing it if you're a club officer. You don't have to just be on a committee, being a club officer, even being in your club, you are a team member because a club needs everyone to help it become better. According to a definition, a team is a group working together to accomplish common goals, to share responsibility and depend upon each other. Think about it. That's your club. And it's everything else you do, even in work. I work as a volunteer coordinator for the Women's Center. My volunteers are my team, and I need to make sure they feel respected and listened in order for them to do their job because I can't do my job without them. And that's the same with almost every committee or workplace that you have. You are probably more important than you think to your organization, and you need to consider that. What are the benefits of being on a team? Well, obviously, knowledge. You have a variety of knowledge. You have diversity. You have skills. You have all your past experiences. You have greater creativity. You might have even better productivity. You have so many different things that you can work on a team. I'd like someone to tell me a little bit about their experience working on a team and what they saw as the benefits. Does anyone want to raise their hand or do I need to call on someone?
Hi, Vicky. This is Annetta. I'll chime in while I'm in a good place.
Okay,
One benefit that I have experienced is with the team, I'm able to accomplish more. Areas where I'm challenged, I am, I grow because I'm on a team. And it happens much quicker than when me doing it, learning it by myself. So team building for me, I experience greater growth.
that's a very good point. And did you realize also, Annetta, you kind of alluded to it also, when you're on a team, different people take the lead. And even being the leader, you have to acknowledge that someone might have more knowledge and skills than you, and you have to give them respect and in order for them to lead. Sort of, how many of you are familiar with Lord of the Rings? Anybody? All right. I'm a Lord of the Rings geek. In Lord of the Rings, there's a fellowship of 9 people. Yes, there's a chosen leader, but in the end, everyone at some point in the story takes the lead. And people don't realize that. You could be a leader in your team and not know it, but you learn from it, as Annetta said. Does someone else want to talk about being on a team? Or do you want me to call on somebody? I'm going to call on Stanley because I love the bright yellow. Stanley, can you talk about being on a team? All right, maybe not. Then I'm going to call, oh, Chris Curtis. Can you talk about being on a team?
Yes, I can. We've been on several different types of teams. Obviously, in Toastmasters, you're on a team. At the club level, you're on a leadership team. At the district level, you're on that team. But I've been on other teams also at work. We work in teams. I do IT work. We work in teams or groups of individuals there. I also volunteer in other organizations. I volunteer for an organization called CASA, where we work with kids, and we have a team of volunteers there. And then also at my church, we are on the leadership team, and we've got different committees, different teams like that that we volunteer for. So myriad opportunities for teams in my life, apparently.
And what have you gotten as a benefit from working on a team?
Well, I benefit more from being on the team than I think they benefit from me being on it. I have grown a lot in Toastmasters, certainly from just participating at the different levels. In CASA, it's with the kids. The kids give you so much more than what you give them, just in their responses and the way that they react to you visiting. At church, you have a feeling of participating and of contributing to something bigger than you. And then at work, obviously, you're getting paid for what you do, but you also want to feel like you're making a positive contribution and that your contributions are moving the entire organization forward. And that's what I get out of those different areas. So thank you for the question.
Well, you also brought up another good point. You're contributing in essence to the greater good of the whole group. And that is very vital with being on a team. You want to feel that you are contributing. If you're doing a team, probably the first major thing is you need to have a purpose so that everyone understands the goal, the big overall goal that they are trying to go to. However, being on a team doesn't mean that everyone is there for the same reason. Some people might be trying to get another aspect of their learning out of being on a team. And they also might be on there because their boss told them to be on it or someone told them it was good. In a way, I look at how I joined Toastmasters. My husband was in a group that was learning about Toastmasters. And they decided that they wanted to start a club. And my husband actually came home and said, there's seven of us in the speaking group, and you're number 8 because we need 20. I'm serious. I did not get a choice. My husband came home and said, you're number 8. We need 12 more. Hi, honey. And that's how I joined Toastmasters. It was interesting because it is a team, and how that team operates, you don't always get to choose who your teammates are. Even if you're in the district leadership, you don't always get to choose your members. So one thing about choosing a team and reading through the Toastmasters stuff, it says you need to select your team, but that's not always the case. So how do you get people that don't know each other, that are suddenly forced into being on a team, to collaborate together? One way is to make sure if you're the leader, tell them your vision. Tell them what your purpose is. And Curtis mentioned this as well, Vanetta. What was their purpose? And that way everyone understands this is our purpose, this is our goal. Okay? After that, talk to each other and see what they're interested in. If this is what your goal is, how are you going to get there? And see what the different skills are. You're always talking to each other. Communication is probably the most valuable tool you have with being on a team. So that way you understand your commonality. By talking, you also can assess everyone's skills. And if you do it in a group in a safe environment, people are going to feel better, and they're going to be willing to connect and collaborate. That's important. To me, every team I've been on, the best teams, and I've been asked this, what are the best teams? What is the best thing I've learned? And what is the best team I've been on? I've been on a lot of good teams. The best team I've been on is one that listens. And that's not just the leader, it's everyone else. I mean, think about it. If you're on a team and no one's listening to you or giving you equal time, don't you feel left out? I can talk about bad teams. I can talk about different ways that they can affect you. But overall, if you listen to each other and respect each other, and that's your ground rule, then it's amazing what you can learn about each other and how you can help each other no matter what the situation. I don't know. To me, communication is the most important aspect of being on a team. It helps you problem solve. It helps you make decisions. It makes it a team. But one thing is, if you're building your team, What do you think the hardest thing is on building a team? Someone want to just throw it out there. Imanga.
Okay, so I think the hardest thing for me to communicate with the members I don't know. I'm very comfortable to communicate with members I know. At least I saw them somewhere else, or I saw them in a club officer training, or anywhere I met them in person. But it is very difficult for me to communicate with them. I don't know. Also, Vicky, I wanted to let you know, Abid, I think I said the name correctly. And she raised her hand. I'm not sure you notice it or not.
I didn't. I'm sorry. Abidai, do you have a comment?
How are you? Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing? Where are you calling from?
I'm from Pakistan.
Okay. Cool.
And today I joined your meeting because recently in Pakistan I joined Toastmaster Club. So I want to open Toastmaster for kids in Pakistan, like youngster, like 15, 19 years old. So that's why I joined your meeting, and I really enjoy your meeting, and I really enjoy your thoughts, and I also take the notes how I open. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome.
And you are
I'm
looking
glad you could join
and you are
us.
looking so nice. You are looking so nice, and you are looking so nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Terrence, you have your hand raised.
Well, well, just like the last speaker, you are looking very nice for a Saturday morning. I like your smile. I like your hair. And I
Oh,
like your message. I like your message. It's about leadership, and in a world where everyone's jockeying for, hey, look at me or listen to me. I think the best way to engage is to lead with questions. Just really because we're so connected through social media, Zoom. I think we've forgotten how to communicate because of the tools that we have. And now we have to look at communicating from different platforms. And so my background is the military, and I thank God for it every day because I was fortunate to be in the military for 20 years, starting in California. Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel when I started in Monterey. But now here he is, 95. He's still active. And here I am. I'm in SoCal in Orange County. But when I look at communication, I look at it from many facets now. Number one, am I communicating with someone culturally intelligent?
mhm.
Because sometimes we don't understand the culture and we're communicating with someone who doesn't understand your culture. So that's why I say leading with questions. And being in the military, we have to communicate not only quickly, because sometimes the situation is it's not the best situation. So how do you communicate quickly with someone that you don't know? You gotta be
Well,
you gotta be kind. You gotta do what you're doing. You gotta smile. You gotta use body language. And nonverbal communication is really how most people talk more than others. Because what you're doing with us now, you're very engaging. And so we want to engage you. And that's what I'm learning. If we don't understand culturally when to engage, when not to engage, and when you have an opportunity to engage, speak with clarity, speak with conviction, speak with confidence, because you don't know who's hearing your message and what's resonating with them. So that's what I'm learning from you ladies. All beautiful ladies, very soft spoken, fun, engaging. And that's what made me wanted to raise my hand.
okay. Well, thank you for that. And actually, I do have 8 questions that you should ask people on a team. I do have 8 questions that I devised from a book called How to Break All the Rules by the Gallup Group. It's a very intriguing book. It's about how organizations are successful. And I took the 12 questions, and you can Google 12 questions, and made it into 8 to be used in Toastmasters. And I find them very effective. However, before I get to the 8 questions, I want to ask, Umanga brought up, how do you ask people you are not familiar with? I actually have a whole session on how to ask. And I will preface this by saying, my husband was he was in the first class that was called district director. I was a district governor. He was a district director in 2015, 2016 is when they made the change. He will tell you he's married to me and he does not know how to ask people to help. How many of you will sit there and do the whole project all by yourself, or most of it, or take on someone else's role because you don't know how to ask? And he admits it. He doesn't. And I used to rail on him about it. But it's a hard thing to learn because you're afraid. Think about a district director now who has to ask all these people to be an area director. They're on their team. They need to lead these people on a team. But how do they get them on the team? They have to call and ask them. Just like Umanga, and my understanding is, who is the Gloria, are now club growth directors. They will need to ask people to be on their team that they don't necessarily know. Yes, you need to ask questions, but first you need to call and ask them to be on your team. And you have to realize before you call someone to be on your team, you better know what your team is about. You better be able to explain its purpose, its vision, your ideas, and you have to be willing to listen to their ideas for being on that team. If someone says no, you don't take it personally. But what you can do is ask them why. And not be, I don't want to say offhanded, but be intentional with asking them why. They might tell you, well, right now I only have this limited time. Well, maybe they can do something else on your team and not necessarily what you're asking them to do. You have to be clear. As Terrence said, you do have to be clear so that someone understands your expectations of being on that team. When I was district governor, and I don't hear anyone go, oh my God, you did this. I actually had my area governor sign a contract with me. It was a two-way contract. What I expected of them and what they could expect from me. And that way we had a clear understanding. And yes, I had a signed document. So I can say, what part of this did you not understand? What part did I not explain correctly? I actually did this for several teams that I was on too. I know I'm not a very nice person on this, but I want to make sure that everyone understood what my expectations were and what they could expect from me. I didn't want someone to come into it and go, you didn't tell me that. You're right. I didn't tell you that. If we're on this team together, we need to communicate. Thank you for telling me that. It's important so that the people that are on your team have a clear understanding. I can't say how much it is important to listen. And also to be positive. If someone starts going, well, I was on their team and it was so negative, cut it. You don't need that negativity to come forward on your team. Your team is new. It's different. You need to be able to talk to them and they need to feel safe in talking to you. But also explain this is going to be a positive experience. And if you have to manage conflict, manage conflict. There's a lot of different ways to handle conflict. I will say this. When I apply for a job, I have two pat answers for two questions I'm always asked. One, how do you manage conflict? And I sit there and say, I've been in volunteer management for over 40 years. You deal with volunteers. There's going to be conflict. Volunteers are there because they want to be there. They're not getting paid. You have to find out why they want to be there and work towards that and putting them on your team. You have to remember that. Just because it's your vision and your goal, how are they envisioning it? What is their perspective? And bring that into the whole group. That it's amazing to me how many people just go, oh, okay. The other question I always get is, how do you handle crisis? How are you in a crisis? And I just sit there and respond, well, I was at Dulles Airport during 9/11. I'm done. Most people just go, oh, okay. And I was running volunteers at Dulles Airport at 9/11 and was at the airport. And our airport actually came back up and running on the Thursday after 9/11. Most people's airports did not. But I had to deal with the volunteers. And I probably wasn't nice to the media because I did tell them some foul language to get the hell out of my airport. And then I went and reported myself to the manager of the airport and said, yes, I did say that. And he said, thank you. I would have said that too. But that's something you need to deal with on a team. How do you deal with the conflict? What if there's a change in plans? How do you communicate that with your team? And communicate is the most valuable tool you have. It just is. And if you've made your team a safe place, if you encourage the positivity, if you've encouraged people to speak up, if you've listened to their opinions and realized their views might not be the same as you. And sometimes you have to let someone on your team do it their way and not your way. And you have to support that team member no matter what. If someone fails on your team, it's with the team. And the team needs to work through it. There's no blame game. And if in the end there is a fail, that's up to the team leader to deal with. And that's hard. Working on a team, you're all together working on one goal. You might have different missions on that goal, but you all have to work together to accomplish it. So it's a team plan. And when you assign roles, realize that some people might be better suited here. You're learning these people. They're new to you. I can talk about teams that have gone bad, but I can talk about what I've learned on how to solve a team and how to be a better team player. And that's important. What's another important role with being on a team? If you're responsible for something, what's something else that you need to be on a team? All right, Terrence, you've already spoken once. I'm going to see if someone else will speak. All right, is that all right? Gloria.
Do you mind repeat the question?
What do you think? We've talked about some things, what's important to be on a team. What's an important aspect for you to being on a team?
To be in the team, I definitely would fulfill what I promised to do. And if I have the last minute urgent things that I could not be fulfilling my duties, I would try to find my replacement as soon as possible and tell the leader or the Toastmaster what happened and who is going to be replacing my role. And hopefully the agenda will be changed right away and notified to the team members. And that's one thing I would definitely take it seriously. Thank you.
So accountability. So Gloria, would that be accountability to what you're doing?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay. And that's important. But if you are, as you just said, you can't fulfill your promise, did you think of talking to the team and seeing who could help you fulfill it?
Certain times it could not be done. However, I found it's very easy to reach out and people will say, don't worry about it, go to do whatever you need to do, and the person will be able to fill the role at the last minute.
Okay. And I guess what I'm saying is if you're a team player and on a team, other members of your team might step up to help you so that you don't have to resign. You can help do the role. Because life changes. Excuse me. So, okay, accountability is definitely important. But you also made a comment on commitment with someone, trachea. I don't know how to say your name.
Hi, it's Teresa, like you trace a line.
Okay.
I also think there's about ownership. Like if I take something on, I own it from start to finish, and I'm responsible for it. And um, I think there are like what I see in Toastmasters a lot is people feeling like it's okay to bail on things and normalizing that. And what they don't realize is that other people are depending on them. And that also, this is also reputation management, right? Your reputation is being built by what you're able to deliver. So, as an example, I was visiting a club that is full of tech managers in Silicon Valley, and they can't even get the agenda filled out before the meeting started. And I'm like, what kind of manager are you? Like, I can't even imagine, like, I wouldn't want to be under your leadership because you can't even do the basics. And so I think that that's also really important is to think about like how is a lack of follow through impacting the overall team, the overall organization, but also your own reputation and the skill set and the things that you allow yourself as a leader to do. Like great leaders don't do that. So anyway, food for thought.
Actually, you brought up something I'd never thought about. I mean, ownership definitely, because you are part of a team, so you own part of what the team is doing. But I never thought of reputation management. That's interesting because you are right. Because if someone else is starting a new team, they might go, oh no, don't bring that person on. This is what they did. That's a good point. Then you have to figure out how to redeem yourself. I had not thought about that. Okay. What's another big aspect of being on this team? Don't you have to have trust? Trust in each other, trust in the leadership? Trust would be part of it. Who else wants to talk about being partly on a team?
Hi, Vicki. I'll share. I
All right.
love being part of wonderful teams. Since Toastmasters, I've had a wonderful opportunity to be part of several teams. And what I love is that Toastmasters to me has the perfect statement for everything, including life, the core values. Our core values, they really help implement how you should be in a team. And to me, it's just best practices. Our core values in Toastmasters are integrity. I love that. I love that Trisha spoke about, okay, you're accountable for your actions, so let's be accountable. Let's keep our commitments. The integrity aspect of things. I love the respect. If we respect one another and we respect our role, the role that you're given, if people have placed you in office, if you have stepped up to someone and say, I want to be on your team, to respect that role, that office, that's a lot there. That's saying, I'm going to be committed, I'm going to show up. And then service and excellence. If we could serve our members with excellence, from our club members to the district members, area members, regional members, Toastmasters International, just serve with excellence. I think that would definitely help us be a lot better and just help us achieve more, because again, that whole part of the team together, everyone achieves more. That's so true. And the last thing I will say, working on fantastic teams, you get an opportunity to learn, grow, and develop by listening to everyone. Really, just again, how wonderful, fantastic Vicky just mentioned. Hey, Tressa, I love that. I'm going to put this in my notes. Look at how we learn from every Toastmasters meeting we attend, much less part of a team. Fantastic. Toastmasters' greatest assets, I think, are its members. We learn so much from each other. Whether we know some things coming in or we're brand spanking new, we all learn and grow, because every day, every opportunity could be a little bit different. So thank you, Vicki, for asking. I'm on amazing teams with amazing leaders, and we've achieved so much together. Thank you.
Thank you, Charla. And being on a team can be so amazing. I mean, you do learn so much, and you learn about yourself. For instance, when I managed conflict, I had a team member who decided that even though she was elected to the role, she decided she didn't want to do it anymore because she needed to concentrate on her next year term, and that I could fill in the spots. I did not want to do that. It was her job. I also knew that her mentors were, and that if I took the job away from her, they would cause a distraction in the district. So, that talked about, I get signed agreements. I got an agreement from her signed that said that I could give her responsibilities to someone else. She could stay in the role as title only, but that her responsibilities would be given to someone else, not me. And I had her sign it, so that way they couldn't come after me saying I took her job away. That's what I did. I agree with signed agreements. And it helped. Our district ended up being successful because even though it wasn't in my best interest, and that's something else as leader of a team, it's not always in your best interest. You need to do what's in the best interest of the team and the district. And that's hard. That can be very hard sometimes. All right. So in a way, we've talked about trust, and we've talked about commitment, and we've also talked, in essence, about what makes a healthy team. I'm going to go through some questions with you that I always make sure of when I'm on a team. And we're going to discuss them all. Okay? My questions are, do I know what is expected of me in my Toastmasters role? That's an important thing when you're having a team. Do I have the resources and support I need to do my leadership role? And I can send these questions all to you. If you're going to take on a team, everyone in your team has to feel that you support them and that you can help them get resources. Have I received recognition or praise for doing good work? We all need a little pat on the back sometimes to know that we're on the right track. Have you received feedback for improvement? That goes back to the old evaluation thing. But in order for us to learn better how to be on a team, to be a team leader, just to be a team member, we need feedback. It could be as easy as saying, hey, we had a team meeting and you didn't show up, or you showed up late. That's not respectful of your team members. And how many of you would like to say that at your club meeting? Is there someone who encourages you in your development? And that's important. I definitely would not have gone as far as I did if I didn't have mentors and other people who said, hey, have you thought of doing this? Sometimes people see in you what you can't see. And that's, as a team leader, some of your team members that you get, you might see something in them that they'd make a great team member, and they're going, oh, no, 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 I can't do that. Take doing a demo meeting, which you have two people here who are going to need people doing demo meetings to start a club. I know I went up to one guy and said, would you be on my demo team? And his comment was, I don't go outside my club. I don't want to have you ever gone outside your club? And he went, well, I've been to an area contest. I went, okay, why don't we do one step further? Why don't you go to another club? He did and came back and went, they don't do the same things like we do. Really? And that's how I got him on a demo team. It was hard, but I saw in him that he'd be a great demonstration member, that he could really demonstrate something well to a new club starting. And that later on, I got him to mentor a club because he had the ability. He just didn't see it in himself. And sometimes the people you ask to be on your team don't see it in themselves. And you need to show them. Which also goes, have you been encouraged and to develop and grow in Toastmasters? Being asked to be on a team is a big deal for some people. I'll tell you one secret. I look for the quiet people in the room. The ones who don't say anything and kind of avoid your eyes when you're doing eye contact. Okay, it's my same trick with table topics, but I've learned those people watch and observe everything. And they're the best team members you can have. Just a little secret there. And you've given them an opportunity to learn and grow. People stay in Toastmasters once you get them involved. Once they see beyond themselves, they see beyond the club, and they see this whole bigger world open up to them. They're more likely to stay in Toastmasters. And just think, you have encouraged that by putting them on a team. You have done that. So that's important that people always learn and grow in Toastmasters. And if someone doesn't have the opportunity, they'll probably only stay the 18 months they say they stay. But if you can grab that person and give them a role and put them on a committee, just make them step outside their club. It's amazing what that person will do. And the big thing on being on a team Does leadership listen to my concerns? That's the same with being on a team. If I'm listening and going, yeah, well, I don't really agree with that, tell the group. As a team member, you have a voice, and you should always listen to everyone on the team. You don't have to agree, and you can have a nice debate, and people can talk about it. But in the end, you collaborate and you come up with an agreement. Those are my 8 questions that I think you can ask even in clubs. And I will put my email here, and you can definitely email me and I will send you these. And or I'll ask Umanga to send them out. And if someone wanted to comment on what I just said, Mr. Jody Sally, you said you're observing. Tell me what you've observed.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I have joined Toastmasters 1 April. Of course, my wife is also Miss Anetta, as everyone know, and our president is Imanga. Um, when I come to a team, I'm always observing. I'm observing everything. Hold on a second. I need to, okay, there we go. I'm always observing, and I take great um, pride in observing everyone that's on the team itself, because everyone has a special gift that is always put in them to go ahead and bring out. To bring a team together, a mixed group, regardless of where you're at, who you are, is valuable to make a one team whole. As long as it is established, like you said, as long as we have the mission before us, with everyone who has a dynamic gift within them, we can always be a successful team, which goes on up to like the district and so forth and so on. But I observe everyone because I can pull from everyone to make me better. My main reason why I came to Toastmasters is to be heard. I have a lot of skills on this and that, and like everyone else. However, listening and putting all of that together to be heard, not being talked over. Conflict management plays a great deal in it. You also mentioned also too, far as communication. Communication is a broad subject, and I talked about once before in my other groups. I'm sorry, I'm retired military. So if communication is very dynamic, and like I said, from the uh, the 4 dynamics of communication: the sender, receiver, the medium, and the feedback. If one of those out there are broken, you don't have you have a broken link, and that's just not just dealing with the IT side of the house. That's also dealing with the human aspect of the house also too. So that's why I say communication, along with observing the club and his dynamics, yet will help me continue going further and further within Toastmaster. And I want Toastmaster to be that pillar foundation that I will need to go ahead and continue. Like I said, I only started a month ago. So I am observing and learning on that part. Um, I have searched the entire website of Toastmasters. So there's a lot of things in there. I'm just pulling together, not just in person, but virtually too. Also, there's a lot of tools out there that everyone can use.
So
And
how did Annetta get you to join?
I have been observing Annetta ever since we been in. Matter of fact, we went to DC. I stayed in the DC area from 92 to about 2005, back and forth with all the other agencies and so forth and so on. So I was involved in 9/11 too, more than a lot of people don't think, but I was involved in on that part. Um, we first got introduced to Toastmaster. We was just visiting one time. I think it was uh, back in 2012 or whatever. Um, and we seen one it was one of the personnel that was talking about Toastmaster at that point in time. It sparked a little interest on that part and so forth and so on. Me back then, I always thought Toastmaster was just people just getting up, just talking and talking, but look at the content of what they're actually saying. So yes, I watched over the years as she was going to the meeting. I listened and listened and listened. And I said, that's not for me. Because I wasn't retired yet and I had lots of other stuff dealing with the government and those pressures being in the government. And then I said, you know what? I'm retired now. I retired back in December of last year. I say, okay, I see the ups and downs, and that's in every organization, including Toastmasters, but we are all people and we all are here to help everyone. So I say, let me see, what can we do? And as we was talking, I have seen Monger a great deal of time too, because Annetta is along with her in a lot of clubs too. And she also told me she had met you through another organization outside of Toastmasters. So it got interesting because me working at the church, volunteering at the church, I should say, and other areas with my background in communication networks and so forth and so on, I said, giving out all this information, do people actually listening to me what I'm saying? Because I work at a high level and sometimes I know I need to break it down to the simplest level of people as far as technical wise is concerned for understanding. So I say Toastmaster, Toastmasters is an organization that can help me uh, help others listen to what I am trying to convey or bring over in a better way. In other words, not giving a broad speech, but a simple speech that will help everyone to understand. And my background, like I say, is communication. And I think I'm going to be going further.
All right, good. Well,
Thank you.
thank you for that. I'm going to quickly just go over several things we've talked about on a team. I do really believe the hardest thing on a team is asking someone to join the team. People find that very hard to do. However, to have a team, you need to have communication. You need to have trust. You need to have accountability. You need to somehow figure out how you're going to measure results. You need to have ownership. And I'm really contemplating this reputation management. I think I could do a speech on that. Thank you, Tracy. But these are things you need to have on a team to be a healthy team. The biggest thing is communication and being willing to listen. I really think being willing to listen to whatever one says and incorporating that in your mission and values is important. You need to meet people where they are and understand everyone has a different perspective. I'll say that's one of the biggest things I've learned in Toastmasters is perspective. I love it when my husband and I go to a speech contest and I'll go, that's a great speech. And he'll go, you've got to be kidding me. Everyone comes from a different background, different cultural background. And that's important to note when you're doing a speech. So I'm going to open it now. Please, I put my email in. I will gladly send you my 8 questions, which I think really help clubs as well as teams be successful. I can say I've used it on 3 clubs that were dying, And they all now are great because I gave them 8 questions to ask and they found it was better than Moments of Truth. I don't mean to be negative. Moments of Truth is fine, but this really addresses the individual. And that's what's important in Toastmasters is the member. You are the most important thing in Toastmasters. Without you, there is no Toastmasters. So does anyone have any questions that they would like to say? And since we only have 5 minutes, you have to be short.
Uh, Marty raised hand. I think you didn't say that, Vicky.
Wait, who did?
Marty.
I'm Marty. I don't
Okay,
have
Marty.
I don't have a question, but I do have an observation. Particularly in Toastmasters, I think that we often have an agenda that we are trying to push when we're on a team, when we're trying to invite people to a team, when we're trying to exit a team. And I would encourage everyone to remember that what you see and what someone else sees may be different. You may be looking at the exact same circumstances, but you're taking away different parts of it. And I have found in my journey, particularly, that people are unhappy with the choices that I make. They have a vision for what they think that I should be doing, but it doesn't match my vision. And ultimately, my vision is what's important to me. Doesn't mean I won't consider your vision, but my vision is important. So when I say to you, what's the time commitment for that activity? You need to answer honestly. When I say what support is available, you need to know what support is available. If you are committed to the goal that brings the team together, it's the whole thing. It's not just parts of it. And we all have to be responsible for the entire thing if we expect to get to that destination together. So remember to govern yourselves as individuals. And then remember, you may have a perception about how something is. It may not match the person that you're speaking to. Be interested in what's important to them because that's what makes them brave enough to do what you said, Vicky, where that one individual that didn't want to be on a demo team and leave their club is willing to take that step because you are secure and helping them to secure where they are so that they can then see that there is someplace else that they can go. Thank you.
By the way, Marty, I was going to call on you because I love your background. Um, I love international conventions, and that's why I didn't see the hand, but I love your background. It is so nice and colorful. And that is one thing about being on a team. My ending on when I do how to ask is that you have to believe in what you're asking. You have to believe in what you're selling because you are selling. And you have to believe in the person. And you have to tell that person why you believe they would be good for the team. And if they sit there and say no, you have to not take it personally, ask them why, and then figure it out. But as Marty said, before you ask anyone to be on a team, you need to have a clear idea of what you're doing. You definitely need to know the time commitment. You definitely need to know what kind of role you think they could play. You don't just call someone and say, hey, I want you on my team because I think you're cute. That doesn't cut it. You need to be able to tell them why. And sometimes it's only, I saw you be contest master and your speech was so powerful. I could use that. Would you be interested in doing this? You have to be willing. And sometimes it's putting yourself out there. In Toastmasters and in something else I'm in, they all say, don't tell Vicky your name because she'll ask you to volunteer for something. And I love my volunteers where I work, but that's something else. Volunteers are doing it because they want to do that. They're not getting paid. So find out why they want to do it. I'm going to leave you with that. I put my email in there. Umanga knows how to get a hold of me. So does Charlotte. Please contact me for anything. I really enjoy working in Toastmasters. since 1996. It's been a lot of fun, even though my husband says he wishes I could get paid for it. But, that ain't going to happen. Have a good rest of the day, but thank you all.
Thank you so much, Vicky. I do have a team with Vicky and many Toastmasters in here. Thank you so much, all the points you raised and discussed here, and they are very valuable. Thanks again, Vicky. We do have our second speaker, Curtis Scroggins. I have been known Curtis 14 years in 2012. When I moved to United States, my first area contest. Curtis was a district governor that time. It was my honor to work with Curtis. After 7 years, we both built a team and did an area contest. Fantastic area contest in my life. And I learned many things working with Curtis. It is my honor to welcome Curtis as a special guest speaker in our Learning Lab. And today, Curtis is going to talk about coach or mentor. Do I need one or the other? Neither or both. Curtis is a Region 4 advisor. Curtis, floor is yours.
Thank you, Umanga. And thank you all for being here this morning. As Umanga said, we've known each other for quite some time. And I appreciate you inviting me to your learning labs. I was not aware of this. So this is an interesting Saturday morning activity. So thank you for having me. I also want to thank the members of District 100 because you could be anywhere else this morning, but you chose to be here. And also Viki for your presentation on leadership. Thank you. And any other members who are not necessarily members of District 100, but just Toastmasters or just anyone who's been here. Now, I will be sharing my screen, so I'm going to ask Amanga if I could share, and also if she will watch the chat and anyone for any hands, because I will be running my slides.
Yes, you can share.
Okay, so I'm going to get set up to do that. And let's see. I got to move this screen out the way. All right. Are you seeing my slides?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So coach or mentor, do I need one, the other, neither, or both? In this, in Toastmasters, in the clubs that we're in, and not only in Toastmasters, but generally just in the world, sometimes we get stuck in where we're going. Sometimes we wonder if there's a way to raise our performance, if there's something that we can do to improve ourselves. And so that's what the hope of this presentation is. We will have goals that we're going to start with, and our two goals out of this meeting is first, we're going to learn to choose the right support. As an individual, and again, I don't want this to be specific to Toastmasters, although we are in Toastmasters. This is, as we all know, there's a lot of life outside of Toastmasters. Toastmasters is one facet of life, but it is not life completely. So these ideals, these attributes, the information that you get today will help you in any area of your life, hopefully, and you'll be able to use them anywhere that you go. So first, the goal that we'll have is to choose the right support. And then secondly, we'll be working on, once you choose the right support, on how to build your network. Now, in coaching and in mentoring, we have objectives that we want to reach. And the first objective that we're going to do today is to understand what coaching is and is not. A lot of people think they might need a coach. A lot of people think they might need a mentor, but before you can realize whether or determine whether you need or want one, you need to know what it is and it is not. Also, you want to understand what mentoring is or is not. Coaching and mentoring are two different things, and they are not the same. We'll learn when each is most effective and how to identify your current development needs. You may decide you want, as the title said, one or the other, neither or both. And then based on that conclusion, we'll help you build a personalized support strategy. So those are some of the things that we want to do coming out of this presentation. But why does this matter? Why do we need to decide whether we want a coach or a mentor, neither or both? Well, because some people get stuck in what they're doing. And it's not a bad thing to be stuck. It just means sometime I've reached the end of my knowledge in a certain area. Sometime I've plateaued in my performance. Sometimes I see where other individuals are achieving either more, and I want to know how to get to that level of achievement or how to get even past that. And so, what are some of the things that people are doing that make them stuck? Well, first, they're trying to grow alone. And we all know that we can only grow as far as we know. Once you get to the end of your knowledge in an area, you're not going to be able to go any further. Another reason people get stuck is that they confuse coaching with mentoring. A lot of people think coaching and mentoring are the same thing, but as you'll learn throughout this presentation, they are two distinctly different things. They go down different paths, they need different people, and they have different outcomes. Another reason why people get stuck is they ask the wrong person for the wrong help. And the easiest way for me to say that is it's like going to my baseball coach for wisdom in how to run a church. The baseball coach might be an excellent coach, but not know anything about mentoring me in church. So picking the right person for the right help is crucial to being unstuck. And asking the wrong person for the wrong help is sometimes why people are stuck. And then not knowing what they need. Sometimes, again, we're just stuck, but we don't know how to get unstuck. What do we need to move forward? Who do we need to ask to move forward? And how can they help us? So before we dive into what each of those areas do, first we need to define what and who they are. So let's look at the coach versus mentor, sort of define them, what they are. A coach is a performance-focused, structured, short-term relationship. It's a person who's trying to help you typically increase a skill set. It doesn't last an extremely long time. If you think of sports, which most of us probably do with coaching, you think of it in terms of seasons. And most seasons in sports last less than a year. There are not a lot of sports that go over a year before the season starts all over. So when you think of coaching, you're thinking performance. I want to improve some physical ability, typically. It's structured. There are do's and don'ts in order to improve those physical abilities. And then it's short term, typically less than a year. Mentoring, on the other hand, is experience focused, where a coach may come to you and say, hey, you need to do this, this, and this to improve your performance. A mentor is going to help you either gain the experience you need or tell you from their experience how to do or improve whatever task it is you're trying to improve. They're also relational. A lot of times with a coach, you might just look them up now on the internet and find a coach that does something in a specific area. But a mentor is typically someone you know that you go to and you say, hey, I've seen you do well in this area. I would like to do well in that area. Can you help me do well in that area? So it's more relational. I know this person, whereas with a coach, I could hire them sight unseen because of their record and trust that they might be able to help me improve my performance. And then mentoring is long term. Mentoring is typically longer than what a coach relationship is. And in some cases, it may last a lifetime depending on the results of that mentoring relationship with that person. So now that we know the definitions of each, let's talk about what each of them are and what they are not. So if you look at the term coach, coach actually originated in the 16th century. There was a Hungarian village where they actually built what we might call vehicles today. They probably called them carriages, and they took people from places to place. That village was called Cox, and that's where the word coach kind of grew out of. It meant to transport someone from one place to another. And then as time went on, as it got involved in universities, specifically at Oxford University, the students started using that term to talk about their people who would carry them through exams. So the individuals who were, I wouldn't say mentoring them, who were actually coaching them to get through an exam, they just started calling them kind of coaches. This is my coach. And that is kind of where that word coaching grew out of. And if you think about it, even today, that term is interactive when people talk about riding on a bus. Some people call a bus a bus, and then some of them call it a coach, depending on how long you're going and where you're going to. So let's talk about what coaching is. It's goal-oriented. So whenever you hire a coach or you engage with the coach for a specific goal in mind. It's skill building. Typically, I will go to a coach or a person will go to a coach with a specific goal that they want to improve. I want to improve my baseball batting average. I want to improve my free throw shooting percentage. I want to improve my communication skills. Those can all be coaching areas, and we do that in Toastmasters. You go to a coach for performance improvement. And when you think about coaching and the term SMART goals, if you think about SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, coaching lines up almost perfectly with SMART goals, because in coaching, you want a specific goal, it's measurable, it should be attainable with the person you're working with, it should be relevant or realistic, and there should be a time put on it. It should have an end date, because you want to see that performance improvement by a certain date, usually throughout the course of the season. It's accountability driven. One of the things that we're doing in Toastmasters now is really pushing the concept of accountability partners, people who will hold you accountable for doing things that you've committed to doing, and vice versa. And coaching is exactly that. When you go to a coach, when you go to a coaching session, you will typically get steps that you need to do. And then when you leave, they'll give you instructions and say, by the next time I see you, I need you to have done these steps. And that's accountability. That means next time I see you, I'm going to hold you accountable for having completed these tasks that I've given you today. So it's accountability driven, and it's often paid and formal. So with coaches, you typically will have a contract. You're typically paying that person during that contract period, and there's a formal agreement. Sorry. And Viki even talked about earlier how she has those formal agreements with people on her team, and that is a form of coaching. She's got a contract. She has a list of things in that contract she can hold those individuals to, and she can hold them accountable for. And when she sees them, she expects them to have those things done. Or she can go back to the contract and say, hey, this is what you committed to. You're not holding up your end of the contract. So those are what coaching is. Let's talk about what it is not. Coaching is not therapy. If I'm your coach, I'm not your therapist. If you show up for a session on anything, as much as I might like you or even love you, I don't want to hear about your outside past, anything outside of what we're here for. So this is not therapy. I'm not here to make you feel good. If I'm coaching you to improve, I'm going to give you the facts. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And I might tell you in a gentle way, but at the end of the day, my goal is to help you improve, not to make you feel good. Coaching is not friendship. And a lot of coaching relationships may turn into friendships, but they don't start out with the purpose of having a friendship. They start out with the purpose of trying to improve in a specific area. And you will hear a lot of coaches say, I'm your coach. I'm not your friend. I'm your coach. Coaching is not mentorship. And we will get into what mentorship is, but coaching is not mentorship. Coaching is not necessarily you trying to get more experience or draw on the experience of that person to achieve their goal. It is performance driven, it is step driven, it is accountability driven. So I may give you some steps, and in some cases, I may give you some steps in areas that I haven't even done myself yet. So I can't base it on experience, but I can base it on someone else having done it and proven it themselves. So it's not me mentoring you based on my experience. It's me telling you what steps you need to improve your performance. Coaching is also not advice giving. I'm not giving you advice in terms of how to improve your overall life, or I'm not giving you advice in the sense that you can take it or leave it. These are things that if I'm telling you as a coach, I'm expecting you to do. When people give you advice, you can take that advice or you can leave it. They say take that advice with a grain of salt. Coaching is not that. Coaching is specifically driven to help you improve in a certain area, and the information that that coach gives to you, they're expecting you to consume and act on, not to have a take it or leave it attitude. So it is not advice giving. And then coaching is also not necessarily a long-term relationship. In some cases, it can be, but you hear when you talk to individuals about coaches, they'll say, hey, so and so was my high school coach, or so and so was my middle school coach, or so and so was my college coach. You don't hear that in mentoring. You don't say, I had a high school, this was my mentor in high school, this was my mentor in college, this was my mentor after college. Mentoring is a long-term relationship. Coaching is segmented into short terms, and it is basically driven, and that relationship is held until that goal is achieved. So we talked about what coaching is, but coaching is not. So let's talk about when you need a coach. What would help you decide when a coach is a possibility? First of all, when you're preparing for a promotion. And I know there are some retired people on the call, so that may not apply to you in terms of work, but you may be prepared. All promotions are not work related. You may be preparing for a promotion in any area of your life. But if you have a targeted goal that you're trying to reach, and that goal is above where you are right now, that is a promotion in whatever area it might be. And if you're trying to get that promotion, you might need a coach to help you focus on the tasks related to achieving that promotion. Obviously, in the work area, those are very structured, delineated tasks that you would typically know if you work in that environment. I work in an IT environment and I know what it takes to move forward because of the job that I've done, and I've been there for some time. And in most environments, most of the jobs are laid out specifically for what those tasks are, what it takes to be successful in that job, what it takes to be satisfactory, exemplary, and how to move forward. And so in some cases, if there are not people on that job who are helping you prepare for that, you might get a coach, and it might be a coach on that job that can help you prepare for that promotion. Another time you need a coach is when you're trying to improve a specific skill. And we talked a little bit about that, but if it's typically sports related, if you're trying to improve a specific sports skill, you can get a coach, but it's not only tied to sports. You can get a coach. Again, we talked about communication, leadership, a lot of areas anywhere where you're trying to improve a skill, you would like a coach. But again, a coach is typically focused on that one skill, whereas mentoring is holistically oriented. You might need a coach if you're stuck in a performance plateau. Let's say you've done everything that you can, you're at the top of your game, you still want to stretch yourself even more, but you don't know how to. That might be the time to get a coach. If you're stuck at a level and you know there's a higher level that you can get to or that you can achieve, but you don't know how to get there, a coach might be the person that can get you there. Certainly someone who's already at the level that you're trying to get to would be a perfect candidate for a coach. But there are people who focus in specific areas where you can get coaching that can help you reach that plateau, even though they may not have been in your specific environment or company, but they know how to improve your performance. That's what their expertise is. You also might need a coach if you need structured accountability. Mentoring is very unstructured, as we'll get into later, and coaching is very structured, and some people respond better to a structured accountability environment or framework than an unstructured. And even in coaching, if you watch teams perform, coaches need to know how to trigger the motivation of the individuals they're coaching. Some individuals respond to being yelled at. Some individuals don't. They'll shut down. Some individuals respond to just being told, hey, you're the best out here. You're just whispering in their ear, you're the best out here. And they respond to that. They feel it. They believe in you, and they appreciate you believing in him, and they can achieve things that they never would have on their own. But a coach will figure that person out. And you as leaders on your teams also need to figure that out. You need to figure out what motivates your teammates, what motivates your team members. If you're coaching them, you need to know what's going to drive them so you can give them the proper motivations. Again, everyone's not motivated by being yelled at. Everyone's not motivated by whispering in their ear. Some respond to the being yelled at. Everyone's not motivated by ribbons. We give out a lot of ribbons in Toastmasters, but everyone's not motivated by those. Some people are motivated by recognition, just the recognition, not necessarily the ribbon. Some people like to see their names in the program. Some people don't want their names mentioned at all. And so you have to find out what drives those teammates who have volunteered to be on your team as a coach in order to know how to motivate them, including whether they need that accountability or whether you should just give them a task of things to do and a due date and let them go at it until they're done. And then finally, you need a coach when you want measurable progress. Again, when we talk about the SMART goals, the M in SMART is measurable. It is not a SMART goal if you can't measure how far we've come. Because if you can't measure how far we've come, you don't know if you've reached your goal. You don't have that accountability. How do I know if I've reached the goal that I've hired you to help me or engaged you to help me achieve if I don't know where I started and where I plan to end? So that measurable progress is important. And typically a coach will put that in that contract or in that engagement with you. We'll decide what is it that I need to achieve, and this is why I'm engaging you to help me to achieve it. So that might be some of the areas when you need a coach. Let's talk about the types of coaches that you can have, some common coaching areas. First, an executive coach. An executive coach is a personalized, confidential developmental personal partnership, and that's created between a senior leader and a trained professional coach. I would be surprised if at all of these Fortune 500 companies, and maybe even in the company you're working, certainly in the military, if anyone in top leadership doesn't have some type of senior coach, someone coaching them, someone guiding them, someone giving them executive coaching, because executive coaching, when you're leading people, there are so many things you need to think about, so many ways you need to prepare that almost everyone at that level needs an executive coach. That type of coaching is designed to enhance your leadership effectiveness, to sharpen your strategic decision making, and to maximize both your professional and organizational potential. So not only is it designed to help you lead individuals at a better level, but it's designed to help you improve also. And that's one of the things I love about Toastmasters is that they are constantly putting out training that is designed not only to help you as a member, but also as a leader and to lead those members. Another common coaching area is leadership coaching. Leadership coaching is different than executive coaching because executive coaching is sort of the top of the rank. You are the CEO, you are a C-level person at some organization, CEO, CFO, CIO. Leadership is leadership in any area. You could be a team leader, you can be a manager. And leadership coaching is a management style where the leaders act as mentors rather than bosses. Yes, you're over someone, but you're more mentoring them than bossing them. They prioritize the long-term professional development of their team members, and they ask guiding questions, they provide constructive feedback, and they empower the individual to take ownership of their work and problem solving. So some of the best leaders are the leaders who help you arrive at the solution to your problem without giving you that solution. They guide you to that solution. And some of the best teams are teams where even though they achieve the team leader's goals, they all feel like they came up with that goal and they achieved it themselves. It is not necessary for you to have all the credit as a team leader. And in fact, some of the best team leaders give all the credit to their team because they know they would not have done it without their team. And that's where leadership coaching helps and gets you. Then we have a communication coaching as a common area of coaching. Communication coaching is a specialized form of coaching that focuses on enhancing an individual's communication skills. This is both, both verbal and nonverbal, and it's designed to improve interpersonal interactions and achieve communication goals. Now, someone already mentioned that a lot of communication is nonverbal, and in Toastmasters, we say 97% of communication is nonverbal. So it's gestures, it's eye contact, it's voice, it's the way you hold your body, it's the way you're holding your arms, it's the way you're standing, you're using the speaking area, you're using visual aids. All of these things are a form of communication, but 97% of it is nonverbal. And none of those things that I mentioned are we talking. We're just seeing things. And so communication is a holistic coaching where we're talking about all of those things. And we do it best here in Toastmasters. We focus on all those areas. In the old CL manual or CC manual, it went through those areas one at a time. And in Pathways, it's kind of a combination of all those things. But we communicate in more than one level. So our coaching should be at more than one level. The next area that we have common coaching is career coaching. And some of you or all of you may have heard of that. And career coaching is just that. It's a strategic partnership that helps you navigate your professional career. Going through transitions, setting actionable goals, and overcoming workplace challenges. Career coaching is not always moving to a different career or moving to a different job. It's getting through the job that you have as successfully as possible. So a career coach will act as a personal trainer for your professional life. We probably all know what personal trainers are, and we associate that with the physical part of training. But a career coach is a personal training for your professional life. They're a coach that help you build tailored search strategies, refine your resume, master your interview skills, and negotiate compensation. So if you are just beginning your career or you're changing your career or even changing jobs, a career coach will help you in that job search. They'll help you with those interview skills. They'll help you negotiate that compensation. Because believe it or not, in almost everything we do, we're negotiating. You know, from the time that you buy things at the store, you're negotiating. You just decided you agree to pay that price. But if the price of milk or the price of gas or the price of whatever it is you want is too high, you won't get it. And that means that they've negotiated themselves out of a partnership with you based on that price. But we're always negotiating, and coaching will help you become a better negotiator. And then there's performance coaching, which is probably the one we're most familiar with. But performance coaching is a collaborative, goal-oriented process where a trained professional or a manager helps teams optimize their skills, goals, and habits. So performance coaching, again, is holistic. Yes, I'm trying to get you to improve a single skill, but I'm also looking at all the things around that feed into those skills. If you want to be a faster runner, I don't just try to tell you to build your muscles up. I also look at what you're eating. I look at your sleep habits. I look at what you're doing when you're awake. So all of those things from a coaching perspective, from a performance perspective, feed into you performing better. And I have to consider all that as a coach holistically in order to make you a better performer. So that's coaching. So let's talk about mentoring. What mentoring is. First of all, it's wisdom sharing. Most individuals cannot be a mentor if they haven't had some experience that they can share. Mentoring is not coaching, and mentoring is not reading from a book. Mentoring is giving someone your shared experience. It's telling you, I did this because this, and I did not do that, or I would not advise you to do that because of this reason. So mentoring got its originations, or the word mentor originates from Homer's Odyssey. If you've read that poem, it's called Odyssey. When King Odysseus left for the Trojan War, he left his son Telemachus in the care of his trusted friend Mentor. And he told his friend Mentor, hey, raise my child, teach him right and wrong, teach him everything that he would need to learn as if I was here, because I won't be here. And so Mentor raised that son Telemachus to be a man. And mentoring got its origination from that word, or from that person, mentor. That's where the word mentoring comes from. And so I would imagine that in that relationship between Mentor and Telemachus, there was a lot of wisdom sharing. Also, it's relationship based. Again, Odysseus didn't go to Mentor because he was a stranger and he looked him up in a phone book or something. He knew him. He had a relationship with him. And most of the individuals that you find for mentors or as mentors that you would ask to mentor you are probably going to be built from personal relationship. You've watched them, you've seen them do well in an area that you would like to do well in, and you would like them to pass that information on to you to make you a better person. It's not, beating you over the head. It's not making you accountable in the sense that it's uncomfortable. It's mentoring. It's a shared experience, and it's a long-term relationship. It's a long-term relationship where you develop as an individual toward those goals that that person is supposed to help you achieve. Whereas coaching is either short-term or specific term, mentoring can be, again, for the rest of your life. And in mentoring, you may not necessarily have an end date on a goal. If you say, I just want to learn to be a better parent, well, what's the end date on that? I mean, is it when your child is 12, when they're 18, when they leave the home? No, your children are your children for the rest of your life. So if you want to be a better parent, that mentoring relationship could go for the rest of your life. But the point is, it's not a long-term development. When you set up a mentoring relationship, you don't typically say, I want to do this by this end date. No, the focus is on the learning, not on the end date. Mentoring can also be career navigation. Whereas a career coach is trying to get you from one job, help you improve your current job or get you from one job to the next, mentoring is career navigation. A mentor from a career standpoint is helping you throughout your entire career. They will tell you, hey, this is where you're at. This is where I can help you get. But if you get there and you decide you don't want to be there, come back and I will help you go even further. It is not a job, it is a career. So it's not just a one-time thing, it's throughout that entire process. And a career is not just work related. You can have a career in volunteerism. You can have a career in church. You can have a career in almost anywhere that you've got a long-term relationship where you're doing something on a consistent basis. And a mentor can help you improve that. And typically your mentor in those areas are going to be someone who's had experience in that area, more experience than you, usually longer experience than you, but not necessarily, and usually older than you, but again, not necessarily older. If you want your child to mentor you, so to speak, on how to use your iPhone, they may be younger than you, but they may have a whole lot more experience on that iPhone than you do. So they could mentor you through some of those things on the iPhone. And that could be a long-term relationship depending on how long it takes to learn that process, but it can also be short-term. And then mentoring is also professional and personal growth. Mentoring is not limited just to professional aspects, excuse me. Mentoring is in your professional life and it is in your personal life because life happens outside of work. So you can be mentored in any area of your life. There are people, you're not the first person who's gone through anything that you're going through typically. So there's someone else who's gone through it who can help you through it. It's just a matter of finding that person and asking for their help. So that's what mentoring is. Let's talk about what it is not. Mentoring is not a quick fix. You cannot gain from mentoring a very quick solution to any problem. That's more in the area of coaching. Mentoring is long-term. Mentoring is a relationship. And mentoring is not a substitute for coaching. If you find that you want a quick fix or something shorter, or you're focused on a specific area, then you probably need a coach and not a mentor. Mentor is also not a one-way relationship. Whereas with coaching, a lot of time it's the coach pouring into you. Mentoring is both of you going back and forth. You may not like what the mentor is saying, and you can ask, why are you saying that? Or explain the reasoning behind that. Whereas a coach is just going to say, hey, do this because I told you to do it. I know it works. You need to do it without questioning it, and let's get it done because we have a goal quickly to reach. Mentoring, it's about growing you. It's not a one-way relationship. When I think about the difference between coaching and mentoring, coaching, if you look at a plant, a coach is almost like a person getting an acorn seed. An acorn seed has in it everything it needs to grow into a huge oak tree. It just needs to be put in the right environment, given water, those kind of things. And that's what coaching is. Coaching says, hey, you already have the ability inside of you. I'm just going to bring it out. And that's what an acorn seed has. You don't need to add anything to an acorn seed. It's already going to grow if you put it in the right environment into an oak tree. Mentoring is more like taking an empty glass and pouring water into it. It's you pouring into that person into an area that they haven't had anything in yet. That glass may be a quarter full, it may be half full, it may be 3/4 full. But what you're doing is adding more to that area. And so that person is gaining more experience, they're gaining more momentum, they're gaining more of whatever it is you're mentoring them in. And that's the difference between mentoring and coaching, if you want to look at it from that visual aspect. Coaching is pulling out of you what's already in you, just helping it grow. Mentoring is pouring into you, adding to you, but it takes a little longer. Mentoring also is not a performance management tool. If you have a mentor, that mentor should not be coming you to tell you and telling you, hey, okay, let's evaluate what we've done over the last month and see how far you've gotten. That's not what mentoring is. That's what coaching is. Mentoring is a slow growth process. It may take a year for you to look back and say, oh my God, look how much I've grown. And certainly you should celebrate that growth. But mentoring is not focused on measuring that growth. It's focused on you continuing to grow. So it's not a performance management tool. A mentor is not going to show up at your employee evaluation and tell you how well or how poorly he mentored you. So it is not performance management. So that's what mentoring is not, but let's decide when you need a mentor. Talk about when you need a mentor. You need a mentor when you're navigating career transitions. For instance, if you want to go, I'm in IT, if I want to go from IT to being a lawyer, I would want to go out and talk to someone who's done that before. What's the transition from, and there are people who have transitioned from probably every occupation you can think of into every other, or from one area in their life to another. And I would want to know, what's that transition like? What are the gotchas? What do I need to think about? Can you help guide me through that so I don't make the same mistakes that you or others have made in the past? So a mentor is to help you to avoid those mistakes that maybe you would make if you didn't have that mentor in your life. Also, you need a mentor when you want industry insight. Yes, you can read the magazines, the blog posts, the websites, but a mentor can give you that industry insight if they are in that industry, obviously, that maybe those things cannot. They can give it to you from an insider view. And if you're on the outside looking in, or let's say you're just starting your career in some area and you want to get the feel of how that industry works, or maybe you're considering going into that area, get a mentor. I know it says industry, but it could be anything. Maybe you want to teach Sunday school. Ask someone who's teaching Sunday school. What does it take to teach Sunday school? How do I hold their attention? What products do you use? And then also the age groups, because most Sunday schools I know are not just one huge Sunday school. They're broken out into age groups. So if you know what age group you want to teach, ask a person who's teaching that specific age group. You also need a mentor when you need perspective. And the difference between insight and perspective is that insight is information on that industry. Perspective is how that applies to you. So I might know a lot of insight on an industry that I want to join, but I need someone's perspective. And a mentor is a great person to get that perspective from, because they know me, they know the industry, they can tie the two together. They can say, hey, with your temperament for breaking things, you might not want to be a Sunday school teacher. Maybe you get angry too fast. Maybe you don't know how to corral children. Maybe children drive you crazy, so you might not want to get into that. But a mentor will give you that perspective. Or maybe you have a great teaching skill, but it's targeted toward adults. And a mentor will tell you that, hey, you might not want to teach the little kids, but you'd be perfect for the adults. That's that perspective that only they can give you by knowing the industry and you, and tie those two together. And as I mentioned earlier, you need a mentor when you want to avoid mistakes. The fastest way to success is to avoid the mistakes that others have made. And, there's a quote that says, people are doomed to, what is that quote? They're doomed. History is, now I got myself in trouble. But The quote is about individuals who fail to pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. So if you want to avoid the mistakes that other individuals have made, then you want to get a mentor to tell you those road bombs, those landmines to avoid, so you avoid those mistakes and it doesn't slow you down. It doesn't make you inhibit your progress. And then finally, you need a mentor when you're trying to build long-term strategy. Long-term strategy, again, in mentoring is tied hand in hand. Mentoring is not a quick fix, it's long-term. So you don't go to a mentor and say, I just want to know what the next job I should take is. You go to a mentor and say, I want to know what kind of career I need to get into. What do you see in me? What attributes do you see in me that tie to a specific career? Or what attributes do you see in me that tie to a specific, I want to volunteer in an area. What do you see in me that would target or help me point me to a specific area to volunteer in? We talked about Sunday school teaching. You might have done construction work in your professional life and someone needs help with their roof, or Habitat for Humanity might need help. Those two would tie together because as a mentor, I would say, hey, based on your history, this would be a good match for you. That's what mentoring is. So it's a long-term strategy where both the mentor and the mentee achieve success by working together. And so some of the areas that mentors can help you in, or that they can be, are senior leaders. Senior leaders are individuals either in your company or in your life who have experienced areas that you're getting into, and they are at the top of their game in those areas. Senior leaders typically in your company are known by their titles, of course, but senior leaders don't always have a title. A senior leader can be any person who's got the experience, the aptitude, the ability, the success record that shows that they know what they're doing and that they can guide you and helping you do the same thing. Mentors can be your peers. And in Toastmasters, those are easily definable because we have titles in Toastmasters. We have Vice President of Education. We have President of the Club. We have Top 3, Club Growth Director, PQD, District Director. So it's easy to identify those other peers because they are individuals with that same title. So I can reach out to those peers and I can say, hey, can you be my mentor, or can you be my accountability partner? Or I can reach out to a past whatever, a past district director, a past region advisor, a past vice president of education, and do the same thing. Because once you've done it, that knowledge is in you. And those individuals who have done it in the past have that experience, and they've also hopefully been gaining new knowledge that they can add to that experience and help mentor you. So peers are a good source of mentors. Former managers. And when I say former managers, again, we typically think about work, but it's anyone who has been over you in any area because they know you, they know the work, they know your aptitudes, your abilities, your tendencies, and former managers are good people to mentor you. They know your shortcomings and they can tell you especially if you're not under them anymore, they can tell you what you need to do to improve, and they don't have to coddle you. They don't have to make sure you're happy coming to work tomorrow because you're not under them anymore, but they can tell you, like they would really like to have told you when you worked for them, that this is what you need to improve, this is the areas you need to get better, and this is how you do it. And you can, once they do that, you can tie them into that engagement and say, well, hey, can you help me do that? Can you give me some guidelines? Are you willing to meet with me every 30, 60, 90 days and keep me on track with this? Mentors can also be community leaders. Let's say you want to widen your net and you want to volunteer out in the community. You want to run for alderman or mayor or a community leader in some area. A mentor can be one of those community leaders. They know the resources. They know other people who can help you in a specific area. They can guide you through all the different opportunities at that level where your skills and that need can be matched up. And they can mentor you through that process. So once you get in that position, they can continue to give you advice, give you guidance, give you suggestions on how to execute that goal in the position or in the area that you're in. And then an area of mentors that we don't necessarily talk about a lot, but that are out there are subject matter experts, SMEs in short. And SMEs are anyone who has been an expert in any area of their lives or an area that you're trying to engage in. SMEs don't necessarily have to have, they don't have to know about everything well, but they do know one thing very well. And a SME is that expert in that area. And so if you are really focused on trying to get mentored, trying to have a long-term improvement in a specific area, a subject matter expert is a great person to ask. And again, a subject matter expert doesn't always have a title. They don't always have a position. They're just an expert in an area that you might need help in. So now that we've talked about what coaching and mentors are and are not, let's talk about their differences in the coach and the mentor. First, there's focus. A coach is performance focused, whereas a mentor is development focused. The time frame. A coach is a short-term relationship, and mentors are long-term relationships. The approach. Coaches are structured. They give you a to-do list. They say you need to do this and have this done by the next time I see you, or work on this outside of our meetings. Whereas mentoring is relational. They're building that relationship with you, but they are not necessarily giving you a to-do list. They're making suggestions which you can take or not take. Their expertise. Coaches are process driven. Do these things, get this done. Mentors are experience driven. They may not be getting paid for what they are mentoring you in, but they are still an expert in that area because they have that experience. And then cost. Coaches are typically paid and mentors are usually not paid. So now that we have all this information, how do we make the decision of whether we need a coach, whether we need a mentor, whether we need both, or whether we don't need one at all? Well, ask yourself these questions. What problem am I trying to solve? Excuse me. Is there a specific area that you need a solution in? Because that's the beginning of it. If there's nothing to solve, then you don't need a mentor or a coach. Once you identify the problem, what skills or perspective do I need? Or do I need a skill, or do I just need perspective? If I need a specific skill, that points me toward a coach. If I need just perspective, information, your input, so to speak, but maybe nothing I'm committing to, that points you toward a mentor. Ask yourself, do you need structure or relationship? And only you know how well you work under one of these or the other or both. So if you work well under structure, you might need a coach. If it's just about the relationship, I just want your input, but I don't want to have to commit to it, it might be mentoring. Ask yourself, do you need short-term or long-term support? Remember, short terms are typically coaches. They set a goal, they set a time, and we try to reach that goal in that amount of time. Mentoring is more long-term support. That the goal, again, may be just becoming better at something, but there might not be an end date. There are some things you might want to work on for the rest of your life to improve on. And who knows what that end date is. So it's not always an end date, but there is the question of urgency. What is the urgency? Do I need it? And urgency determines the answer to the previous question. If I need it quickly, then it may be short-term and coach. If there's not urgency, it's just something I want to improve in my life, then it could be mentoring. So we talked about if you need one or the other. What if you don't need either one? How can you tell you don't need a mentor or you don't necessarily need a coach? First of all, if you have clear goals. Mentors and coaches are here to help you come up with your goals. But if you have clear goals, then you don't need a mentor or a coach. Where I work at, excuse me, we have all of our issues, because I do IT, we have all of our issues laid out. And I know when I go in on Monday, or in this case, Tuesday, that there will be a list of things that we need to solve, clearly delineated. So I don't need a mentor or a coach to tell me what I need to do. I can go to that list, pick something from that list, and work on it. So I don't need a mentor or a coach for that. So if you have clear goals, you don't need that. Also, if you're progressing steadily, think about getting a coach or a mentor. Those are additional voices in your head trying to tell you how to do something. If you're already progressing steadily, you're making good progress, satisfactory progress, no one has said anything and you're satisfied with it, you may not need a mentor or a coach. You also may not need a mentor or coach if you have strong internal support. When I was a young kid, let's say around 12, 13, my teens, I had a brother who was a year older than me, and we were very competitive. So anything he did, I wanted to do better. That's all the motivation I needed. I didn't need a mentor or a coach. I just wanted to beat my brother. So I had strong internal support, strong internal motivation to beat him. And I did not need any coaching or anything else. Now, I needed coaching on how to do something, but as soon as I knew how to do it, my number one goal was to do it better than him. So you may not need that if you've got a strong internal support, and you may not need mentoring or coaching if you're not facing major transitions in your life. If your life is going along smoothly, if you don't anticipate any changes, if you're really satisfied with where you're at, or you've been in a mode where what I call humming, where everything is just working well, why change it? If you don't need to change it, if you don't need a mentor or coach, things are working well, why introduce that? So if you're not facing any major transitions, you don't need a mentor or coach. But if you do, you need to choose one if one of these things are on your plate. You have a specific need, something you want to improve, something you want to get done. If you're early in your development, let's say you just started your career, you want guidance, you want to avoid those mistakes, landmines, then you want a mentor or coach. Also, if you're limited on time, you don't have X number of years to develop this skill, you need to develop it quickly, then you might need a mentor or coach. And if you're testing what works for you, let's say you don't want to jump fully into some area, you just want to know a little bit about it. You might get a mentor or coach to feed into you, to tell you about that area and help you kind of dip your toe into it without jumping in full body. Then let's talk about if you need both. We talked about neither. We talked about one or the other. Now let's say you need both. You'll need both when you want that rapid growth. So yes, you want to dip your toe in it, but you want to learn about it quickly, which is your coach, and you want to learn a lot about what an experienced person would know without getting all that experience. You need a mentor to pour that into you. Also, if you're preparing for leadership, leadership has demands for both skills and experience. So you can get a coach for the skills side, you can get a mentor for the experience side, but that will help you prepare from leadership from both ends. And then finally, if you're navigating complexity, in some jobs you have to have good skills, like someone mentioned earlier, conflict resolution. You might have to have that conflict resolution skill, and that kind of pours in complexity to the situation. It introduces complexity that you need to know how to handle. So you might need a coach to help you learn those skills so that you can navigate those problems and resolve them. And then if you want both skills and wisdom, if it's just your goal to learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can, or even if there's no time limit on it, if you want both skills and wisdom, then you can get a coach and a mentor to help you on both ends. So we'll look at a few case studies about, just to give examples of when you might need a coach or a mentor. We'll look at Maria, and I'll just go through these. I won't ask for any answers. I'll just go through 3 examples real quick. Maria's preparing for a promotion, so she needs communication coaching, so that's a coach. She needs a mentor for political navigation because at her level, promotions are political also. So she's going to use both to accelerate her readiness for that position. Our second case is James. James is new to the industry. He just got out of college maybe, and his focus is on learning the landscape. So in his case, he does not need a coach yet. He just needs a mentor for context to help him learn that landscape. And then finally, case number 3 is Aisha. She's reached her performance plateau, and her focus is on trying to get measurable results. So in her case, that mentor is optional, but she really needs a coach for targeted improvement. So let's talk about your support system. When you have a coach or a mentor, that becomes part of your development ecosystem. A coach will help you in the short term, a mentor in the long term. But remember, you also have a peer network out there. You have managers that you've been under that can help you increase your ecosystem. And then there's the community, anyone outside of you or your family that can help build your support system and help you become a better person through coaching or mentoring. So we get to the end and we say, well, what's the takeaway? What are the action plans? What do I need to do? The next steps are to identify your current challenge, to decide which support fits you. If it's a mentor, reach out to one or two potential mentors. If it's coaching, explore your coaching options. There are all options from free to paid. And then don't let this be permanent. Reassess it every 6 months. Don't just grab the first one you have and stick with it. If it doesn't work, reassess it and say, hey, I'd rather change from a coach to a mentor or to a different coach or mentor. So in summary, remember, coaching is focused on performance. Mentoring is focused on perspective. You may need neither, either, or both, but you want to choose based on your goals. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions and answers. I also have a handout that I can pass out to everyone, but I'm going to stop now and I will stop sharing also. And turn it back over to Umanga.
Thank you so much, Curtis. I never thought about coaching or mentoring has this much of content. Thank you so much and fantastic. I love that presentation and everything you shared in your experience and knowledge and everything you brought to this platform. These are really helpful to us. I never thought about this way about these things. Floor is open for any question if you have. Any comments also? I can see Dylan raise his hand. Dylan.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. And it's such a great pleasure being here for the very first time. And I'm just loving it. I'm just loving the education, the transfer of information, and most important, now that I've been club growth director elect, which is a new district 18 into 222 and now 223. I am loving the information. Presenter, I'm thankful for your presentation. My question is, based on what you've just said in respect to choosing a mentor or a coach, there is a never-ending relationship between the two, correct?
There can be, yes.
Right, and that's dependent on probably the goal that you're looking to achieve. Because at one point in time you said it's long term, and once it's short term, then ultimately you can more so look towards looking for a coach, as against if it is long term, then you look for a mentor. But then you also said something interestingly, and it will stick with me forever, is that even with the long term in mentoring, you can have short-term mentors.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your comments and congratulations on your election.
Thank you so much.
If anyone has any questions for Curtis. Anita, do you have a comment or question?
No question, because Curtis is always spot on, and I really appreciated this timely content. My comment, Curtis, thank you so much for delivering this mentor coaching. It's so important as we are getting to the end of elections and ramping up for teams to come together and meet. We do need to know individually or professionally, inside or outside of Toastmasters, what is needed to help us not only sustain what we're going to do, but going forward personally. I appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you, Amanga, for the time.
Thank you so much. Shala, I would like to call you. Do you have any comments or questions? Looks like not. So thank you, Curtis, again. I really appreciate being a special guest speaker in our learning lab. And thanks for agreeing and being here. And you shared a lot of very valuable information. And it was very great speech. This was recorded. And this concluded the month of May Learning Labs. And we do have two more on June 7th as well as June 27th. Hope to see you next time. I will send you an email. Thanks again. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.